Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, December 23rd, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mok-yeon. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea posted 1,092 new COVID-19 cases Wednesday, climbing back to reach the second highest number on record. The EU on Tuesday recommended that people from all 27 member nations avoid any non-essential travel to and from the UK until further notice. And the U.S. economy expanded at a pace of 33.4% during the third quarter, posting the largest growth since 1947. This comes as the country passed a $900 billion relief package to help boost the economy. Our top story today, South Korea recorded 1,092 new COVID-19 cases Wednesday, the second highest figure since the start of the pandemic. As part of efforts to curb the resurgence, private social gatherings will be limited and ski resorts and major tourist spots will be shut nationwide beginning tomorrow. Our Peunji has our top story.
To prevent another explosive surge in infections, the government has announced a new set of special prevention measures that will be in effect from December 24th to January 3rd. During this period, winter sports facilities, ski resorts, and popular year-end tourist spots will be closed. Hotels and guest houses will only be allowed to have half their rooms available to encourage customers to cancel travel plans. Department stores and large supermarkets will be required to carry out temperature checks on all shoppers and will not be able to offer food or drink samples. Nursing homes and mental care hospitals will have to restrict visitors, and workers in these facilities are banned from attending private gatherings. Movie theaters are required to seat customers 1 seat apart from one another and will be closed from 9 p.m. As for concert halls, audiences will have to be seated 2 seats apart from one another. Also, all religious services nationwide will have to be done online, and up to 20 people only can participate in making them.
The purpose of these special prevention measures is pretty clear. We ask everyone to cancel all holiday travel plans and personal gatherings and stay home.
Some officials are likening these measures to using tweezers to precisely target places that could become virus hotbeds, and hoping they will help contain the spread of the virus. Peunji, Arirang News.
The European Union is recommending that people from all 27 of its member nations avoid all non-essential travel to and from the UK due to fears of the new variant of COVID-19 detected there. This comes as more than 50 countries have banned any arrivals from the UK. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
With fears rising, the new variant of COVID-19 may enter their own borders. The EU on Tuesday recommended that people from all 27 member nations avoid any non-essential travel to and from the UK until further notice. However, the European Commission urged for a coordinated approach, adding the travel ban should not prevent people in the UK or Europe from returning to their homes. The Commission added that people returning to their home countries should be able to do so, provided they produce a negative test or quarantine themselves after arrival. It also said transport workers should be exempt from any travel ban when they're traveling across borders to and from a vessel, vehicle, or aircraft. It added that essential medical staff should be able to move freely without quarantine if they have tested negative within 72 hours of travel. France will begin reopening its borders to the UK on Wednesday. A deal was struck late Tuesday, allowing French and other EU residents to return home after testing negative for COVID-19. The lifting of ban will allow for thousands of lorries to transport goods between France and England. However, more and more countries are being added to the long list of countries banning any arrivals from the UK. This includes Hungary, where the new strain of COVID-19 has also been detected. According to NHK News, Japan will also ban UK arrivals starting Thursday. It plans to allow those with long-term stay visas, but will ban any new visitors until further notice. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Following on from the inoculations of some high-figure politicians in the U.S., a group of top health officials in the nation also received their first doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. Our Lee Kyung-eun has the latest.
U.S. top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci got his first dose of the new COVID-19 vaccine. He was among some top health officials who got inoculated at the National Institutes of Health on Tuesday, aiming to boost public confidence in the COVID-19 vaccine. Each received the latest vaccine developed by NIH and American drug maker Moderna, which follows Pfizer and BioNTech's previously released vaccine.
Well, for me, it's important for two reasons. One is that I'm an attending physician here on the staff at the National Institutes of Health Clinical Center, and so I do see patients. But as important or more important is as a symbol to the rest of the country that I feel extreme confidence in the safety and the efficacy of this vaccine, and I want to encourage everyone.
Alongside Fauci was NIH Director Dr. Francis Collins. He was confident and hopeful of taking a major step towards fulfilling the Institute's promise of ending the pandemic with the vaccines.
But it's one thing to hear me talk about it. It's another to have me roll up my sleeve and say, I believe that this is the way we're going to get through this. Bring it on.
Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar, who also received a shot, stressed that the vaccine had been rigorously tested based on FDA standards like on any other vaccine. 6 other doctors and nurses also got their shots on Tuesday. This follows the first wave of inoculations among top politicians, including U.S. President-elect Joe Biden and his wife, and Vice President Mike Pence, who got Pfizer's vaccine on Monday. President Trump, who had been infected by COVID-19, made no comments on his plans for vaccination. The U.S. is aiming to carry out the largest mass vaccination in history to defeat the pandemic, which has killed nearly 320,000 people. Lee Young-eun, Arirang News.
Third quarter GDP growth in the U.S. has been revised slightly up to 33.4%, following a record dip in the previous quarter due to the rapid spread of COVID-19. This comes as the country passed a $900 billion relief package to help boost the economy. President Trump is expected to sign it in the coming days. Our Kim Hyo-sun has more details.
The U.S. economy expanded at a pace of 33.4% during the third quarter, posting the largest growth since 1947, when related data first began being compiled. The Commerce Department explained Tuesday, while delivering the last of 3 estimates on the economy's third quarter performance, that this was a 0.3 percentage point increase from the previous 2 estimates. The record pace posted from July through September marks a sharp recovery from the 31.4% drop posted in the second quarter due to the pandemic. The rebound comes as U.S. Congress on Monday passed a $900 billion relief package to help the COVID-19 hit economy. The relief package, unveiled on Monday afternoon, was sped through the House and Senate in a matter of hours.
Are there any senators in the chamber wishing to vote or wishing to change their vote? If not in this vote, the yeas are 91, the nays are 7. The 60-vote threshold having been achieved, the motion to concur is agreed to.
The second largest bill in the country's history includes subsidies for small businesses, the unemployed, a new round of $600 stimulus checks for almost all citizens, as well as aid for vaccine distribution. It also includes an aid package to fund the federal government. Many media outlets, including Reuters, however, pointed out that the stimulus package has been delayed significantly, adding growth in the fourth quarter will likely be impacted. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
South Korean carmaker Hyundai Motor Group has completed its acquisition of a GM factory in St. Petersburg, Russia. The auto giant made the announcement on Tuesday. Established in 2008, the factory has the capacity to build 100,000 cars a year. GM closed the factory to scale down its overseas business. Hyundai Motors says it's yet to decide on when production will resume because of the pandemic. To win the war against COVID-19, vaccinations will only go so far. That's according to the OECD Secretary General speaking to Arirang News. Upon the OECD's 60th anniversary, the Secretary General emphasized a spirit of cooperation and strong communication, highlighting the example of South Korea in fighting the pandemic. Here's part 2 of Oh Soo-young's exclusive interview.
vaccinations alone won't end the global coronavirus pandemic. To build back better from the devastating fallout from COVID-19 across economies and the damage to people's livelihoods, national response and recovery plans must be clear and coordinated across borders. That's according to Angel Gurria, Secretary General of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Speaking to Arirang News, Gurria stressed that multilateralism is the only way to tackle the countless common challenges presented by the worst health, economic and social crisis since the Second World War.
Multilaterally is the only way to go, through the WHO, through international organizations that are looking at the different ways to do it. For example, we at the OECD, we have made a very important, a very practical contribution. We now have 167 policy briefs, decisions on taxes that can be used for the purpose of fighting COVID. What are the decisions on education? Then what do you do with the health systems to make them more resilient? What do you do with the SMEs, which are so threatened? What do you do with the tourism, the sector that suffered the most? Every day, the new questions that come up. And the question really is, how do you deal with that, if not multilaterally, and by using not only the best practices to learn from everybody?
Upon the OECD's 60th anniversary this year, Gurria drew upon the organization's founding mission of rebuilding post-war Europe with better policies for better lives.
This is why we define ourselves not as a think tank, but as a do tank. And I have been defining the OECD as a do tank for 15 years now, because it's about policies. We have to implement them. We have to practice them. And this is what will make the difference. This is what will help millions of people.
But not all governments and citizens have been on board. The Secretary General pointed to leaders giving mixed messages about the severity of COVID-19 and growing skepticism around vaccines. Gurria stressed the need for clear and effective public communication to win the seeming battle of morale, especially at this critical time when second and third waves of transmission are taking place.
We have to kill the pandemic. We have to beat the pandemic. We have to win this war against the pandemic with the vaccines, but also by a discipline. And again, Korea is an extraordinarily clear example of the fact that with the discipline, with the leadership, and with the people having faith and having trust in the leadership, in their leaders, because the leaders are clear and the leaders give very clear signals, and they're very clear also about the consequences, and people are willing to support the policy. And then what happens is it works. It works. You know, we don't need to go too far.
To make a strong COVID-19 recovery and tackle climate change, biodiversity loss, growing inequalities, the concentration of wealth, digitalization, and the future of work, Gurria stressed that countries must band together and consolidate trust among their populations. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Good morning. It's another day with relatively mild temperatures, but it's going to get colder after tonight's wintry mix and another band of rain or snow in southern regions on Thursday. So that means a much colder Christmas Day. So tonight, either snow or rain or a little bit of both will fall in central parts of the country. While the amount will not be much, while Jeju will receive 5 to 10 millimeters of rainfall. But we will be dealing with high levels of ultra-fine dust during the day, so please have a face mask that can block ultra-fine dust today. So this afternoon will be dusty and mild with lots of clouds in central regions. Highs in Daejeon and Daegu will be at 9 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Looking ahead, some real winter chill on the way for the final week of 2020. In the capital, lows will be below minus 10 degrees Celsius and highs will only be hovering around minus 5 degrees. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
COVID-19 has permeated our daily environment. In some cases, the source of infection remains unknown. Preemptive testing is essential to prevent infections linked to asymptomatic and latent cases.